Hello and welcome along to the Computer Science GCSE presentation for Year 9 options. I'm Mr. Brown and I am the subject leader of Computer Science here at Accrington. And today I'm going to walk you through the details of what you can expect from picking Computer Science and how this can lead to further study and employment. Okay, so what is actually covered in Computer Science GCSE? I mean, that's why you're here. So what is it we actually do? Well, first of all, the units for computer science are broken into two. So we have Unit 1, which covers the principles of computer science. And this is about some of the theory behind computing and how computers work. And it's also looking to the future. So you have computational thinking. So this is actually how do we actually write computer games and applications that we use in our day-to-day life. Data. We look at a topic actually called computers, and we go into quite a lot of detail about all the hardware that are used by these different devices and how they work. We look at computer networks and how computer networks are designed, built, and the different types and how they're changing our lives. And we look at the issues and the impact. Now, I always find this a very interesting topic. It's constantly changing, and it's the issues in a positive and the negatives. Okay, and then we look at the impact, and you only have to look at your lives compared to maybe your parents' lives and the technology that you use that wasn't even around when they were your age. And then you've got to think about what it might be like in another 10 years' time, 20 years' time. So a very interesting unit. Then what we do is we move on to Unit 2. Unit 2 is a more practical application of computer development, and it's a very practical unit. And this is where we actually write, test, and evaluate software. So this is where you actually become a computer programmer, a developer, and this is what most people would need to do if they wanted to go into computer game design and development. We look at what we call algorithms, and it sounds like a very scary term. And it's literally, we are looking at the recipes to different programs. Okay, so how are they made? Getting up in the morning, making a cup of tea is an algorithm. Okay, we just break that task into little steps, and we could write a computer program for that. So we look at algorithms, understanding how to decompose and analyze problems. Now, this is a brilliant skill set that you will develop in computer science, but it can be transferred to every other subject that you do. It can be used in later life. It's a fantastic skill that employers would want from their employees. So this is a very, very good area for you to develop your analytical skills and breaking large problems down into smaller manageable chunks. Okay, and as I said, you will have the ability to actually read, write, and refine software programs. So actually developing computer programs, applications, which would eventually lead to you developing computer games and applications that people would download and pay you money for, or you'd be working for a large company to do that. Okay, so that's the two units. So how are you assessed? Okay, how are you assessed? So first of all, this is quite different to other GCSEs. You have one written paper, which is 1.5 hours, and this is a mixture of different questions from the topics that I've just discussed, and they are scenario based. And that's very traditional. It's how most of you would be used to being examined in other subjects. For Unit 2, however, you have a practical on-screen assessment that lasts for 2 hours, and it's a practical assessment. Okay, so this actually means that you will be sat at a computer and you will be asked to change programs, edit programs, look at the software, look at the code and explain where there may be a problem and then make the change. It's very different to how students have been assessed in computer science in the past. And I believe this is an advantage for you doing computer science, because rather than being asked, how would you do something, you actually just get to be able to do it. Okay, and show those skills that you've developed over 2 years on your GCSE. They both have equal weighting, so that basically means that each paper is worth 50% of your GCSE. Okay, and as I said, you will have the more theory part, which is paper 1, and a very practical part, which is paper 2, unit 2. Okay, so what does the course actually involve? So one of the important aspects of the course delivery is that it should give you an insight of the daily working of a computer scientist, okay, or somebody who's going to be working in technology. So the delivery of the GCSE is a blended mix of learning materials. So we do classroom exercises, and there's internal assessments that draw on the current practice in and experience of the qualification sector being studied. So this might mean that we do quite a lot of practical problem solving using technology, producing software using industry recognized tools. So what I mean by that is the tools that you will be taught on your computer science GCSE are actually used by the large companies that you will have heard of, such as Microsoft, Google, and the app developers and computer game developers, such as Epic Games, Activision, and so on. Okay, so you're using software that is recognized. When and if possible, we have visiting speakers from local employers. We look to invite these experts to talk to students about their involvement and how computer science is used at different levels and in different ways within businesses and organizations. Asking a local employer to set learner problems, so it might be asking them to develop a problem that they come up against, and you're being in the classroom environment would have a go at solving that. So again, it's helping you with employability skills and helping you towards completing your GCSE. And obviously we look to refer to different magazines and newspapers that are relevant to our sector. Okay, so the course does involve different methods of teaching. A lot of it is practically based in the computing labs using the computers. So a lot of the time you will be sat at the computer rather than being sat at a desk doing theory. So what sixth form courses can this subject complement or help you to move on to? Which seems really strange me saying that when we are just looking at picking an option for the next 2 years in your school years. But you now need to start looking at how this will affect you in the future. So firstly, it would complement massively the Pearson BTEC extended certificate in IT, and this is an A-level equivalent. So you would pick this subject along with 2 other A-levels or A-level equivalent subjects. It is not just a full-time BTEC course. You could move on and do A-level computer science, but it also does have elements which would help you towards business studies at A-level, A-level mathematics, A-level physics, and media studies at either A-level or BTEC. Computer science has a lot of transferable skills that you would develop that would enable and support you in many different courses. So what jobs or careers can this subject lead to? Now, this is a very difficult slide for me to put together, as computer science and IT are embedded in all aspects of life. So if you wanted to go into sports, technology is used to analyze and develop athletes in football clubs. So for example, tracking a footballer through an entire game, how many passes have they complemented to, how many steps have they made in that game, where have they been on that football field, and so on. So it can literally be embedded in every sector there are. But I've tried to bring some through for you here now. So obviously the world's becoming more increasingly digital, and we are constantly advancing, and there's new roles being created, and it's changing constantly. So there will be jobs advertised in the future that don't exist today in technology. Okay, and you doing your first step in picking computer science will help you towards achieving those careers and being one of those people who can take those careers. So there's project manager, there's computer games developer that I've mentioned previously, there are software developers, web content manager, social media managers. Social media manager didn't exist 15, 20 years ago. You could work in aviation engineer, so you could be developing flight simulation software to train the next RAF fighter pilots or the next commercial pilots. There's application engineers, so developing applications that we all download and install on our phones, our tablets, our computers. There's a forensic computer analyst, so looking into the computers, and that's more of obviously moving down the crime and working with the police. There's user experience design, nanotechnologist, and there are many, many, many more careers out there. The average graduate, so if you go to university and have developed your computer science skills, the average salary for someone, the average money that they would earn over a year is £57,000 per year. And it's actually higher than most other sectors. It's one of the largest growing sectors in employment. So there's a huge range of careers and jobs that you could go down. As I said, lots of transferable skills that you will develop over your GCSE. Okay, so thank you very much for listening. If you have got any questions, obviously you can get in touch with me. You can find me around school.